to the Breakfast Leadership Show, where we interview global thought leaders on business, leadership, and life. Here's your host, keynote speaker, best-selling author, and chief burnout officer of the Breakfast Leadership Network, Michael Levitt.
Welcome back. I've got Dr. B on the line. Dr. B, how you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you for having me here. Really appreciate it for the network.
I'm really happy to be with you again today. I was on your show not too long ago, so always love our conversations. We talk about wrestling and all kinds of other stuff, kids. So I'll make sure to link the episode that I was on and make sure that you listen. So why don't you share a little bit about you and what you're up to these days?
Yeah, a little bit about me. Dr. Jairo Borja. I'm the president, CEO of Borja Consulting Group. I help coaches, consultants elevate their business through networking in 90 days. It's my new initiative via the Elevation 90-Day Mastery. I'll walk them through looking over their CRM, looking over their process, looking over their referral process, looking over their networking. It's a 12-week program, and by the end, these coaches, consultants have all the tools and to scale, right? So I'm excited about that. We have our first cohort that started about 9 weeks ago. I can tell you that someone has increased their sales. I'm happy about that. Someone has started a second business. Happy about that. Someone that has expanded their business. Happy about that. And someone that purchased a third home. I was like, wow. So a lot of good transformation, unintended, going on there. But I also, where my claim to fame is helping nonprofits with a lot of curriculum development, curriculum review, and also establishing programs all the way back to my days in higher ed. And now for what I do for nonprofits, I help a lot of folks in the entrepreneurship space. So one of my clients is a statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey. Shout out to them, Familia. And I oversee all the programming for them, which includes the entrepreneurship training program and the Level Up entrepreneurship training series. And last but not least, and I'll be quiet, as I'm promoting this new book, DealMaker, How to Easily Raise a Limited Capability Deal, available now on Amazon. Now, I've had that for a couple of months. It's a passion project, and the book is a great vehicle or excuse to kind of talk to people, and it's opened up a lot of doors, and I've gotten a lot of speaking about it. So that's what I'm working on, man.
Beautiful stuff. I'll check.
Besides trying to get tickets for SummerSlam, this is reporting in July.
Yeah, I know that's always a challenge. I know I talked about it. I don't know if it was when we had a chat or if it was on your show. I remember waiting in line back in the day when you had to wait in line to get tickets for WrestleMania 3, and it was at least the weather was decent that day because it was winter time in Michigan, and we were outside for most of it. I remember it being sunny. And because I don't remember, it had to have been early winter when the tickets went on sale, because they didn't put them on sale like way in advance. But anyway,
like in January or something like that of that year. So right, or at least something short like that. It's not like now where it's like a year in advance, right? So
it was the end of March 1987. Never forget it. What a blast that was. But to go back to a lot of stuff you're working, we'll talk about the group that you've been working with, and I think you said you're 9 weeks into it. And one of the things that I see in groups like yours is it's not a case where you've got a framework and an agenda more or less to kind of guide people through, but you're bringing them in, and all of a sudden, they're launching another business. They're buying a third house. That was not on your list of things that, this is to be successful. I want somebody to buy another house, or, launch another business. And in many cases, I could be completely wrong on this. Individual results may vary, but my hunch is those individuals that have done that initially wasn't their intent when they signed up. I'm sure they were looking for something else, or they wanted to get some clarity on their business and whatnot. And when you get in an environment like that, and this is something I highly recommend people do, get part of groups like this, because what happens is there's this energy that flows, and you get breakthroughs. It may be the breakthrough that you want to get your business to the next level, or it might be a breakthrough of something that is completely was not on your mind, but all of a sudden it came to be because you're in this environment where things are nurtured and growing. And it's insane when you think about it. It's like, nine sessions in. That's not a lot of time. I know a lot of people think, oh, wow, that's a long time, because we're in this instant society now where we want everything in 10 seconds. It's no, when you get in something like this, it's intense, but I tell you what, it is earth changing for you when you do this, because you get the breakthroughs, you see what other people are doing, and may give you some ideas, some collaborations, some networking opportunities where you just grow your business like mad. So I'd love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Absolutely. I think what sets this program apart, what helps everybody is kind of like what you said. We kind of feed off each other, right? On a weekly basis. And I do one lesson a week, lesson dash, takeaways and all that, and I do the group coaching itself on that second day. And in between, I have like in this case we use WhatsApp, but usually I would use like a Slack, or I would use like a Telegram for that. So by using WhatsApp, we hold each other accountable, and then we cheer each other on as well. So it's almost like a support system dash community. And at the same time, I don't want to say friendly competition, but it kind of is, right? Everyone wants to one up on each other. At least that's how I see it. And I think by design, that helps individuals kind of say, damn, this could get ass. I got to step up. I got to step up my game. So by design, I think that's what the program elevation does for folks.
Yeah, it brings on accountability, I think, and it kind of holds people accountable because, I mean, how many of us have downloaded that free ebook or signed up for that online course, and we may have even paid like $20 for it. Heck, we could have even paid couple $100 for a course, and it sits and we don't do anything with it. I always tell people, go in your downloads folders and let me know how many PDFs you've got in there of things you've downloaded that you will, quite frankly, never read. It's because we have this intention, and then it much like a river, and you're looking at, let's say, a leaf on the river. You see the river, you see the leaf, and all of a sudden the leaf's gone. And it's the same thing with a lot of our motivation when it comes to downloading something or enrolling in something. But when you're in a group like this and you're actually seeing people step up and do things, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got to get off the sidelines here and I got to get back into this game, and I'm showing up next week and I'm bringing something, even if it's a small win, even if it's like I landed a small client. Celebrate. A client is a client, because sometimes you think, oh, it's just a small client. Yeah, but what happens if that client grows? All of a sudden, or they know people that are in your space, and all of a sudden they start referring you out, and that one client turns into 4 or 5 or 10. What does that do? Those opportunities happen when you get into the game. And I think that's what's so important about all the work that you're doing on this, and most importantly, quite frankly, the work that the people that are in these groups are doing. You're coaching them, you're guiding them. But much like, Paul Heyman on the sidelines, sometimes he's in the ring either by choice or he's get pulled in, one of the two. But usually he's outside of the ring guiding and advising the wrestler inside of the ring of what to do. And that's your situation. I'm not calling you Paul Heyman per se, unless yeah, I'm sure you've been called better or worse, but longevity. He's been in the game for a long time. When I look back, I go, dang. Although, completely side note, I saw a meme the other day. It was from Macaulay Culkin, and he had from Home Alone and all that kind of stuff. Showed the picture of him in the Home Alone poster, and then the next frame was him kind of leaning against the wall, and he goes, "Hi everybody, I'm just stopping in to say that I'm 40 years old now. Have a nice day."
Right.
I'm like, what? So time moves. But again, going back to what we were talking about, get in the game, get in that ring, and you'll be stunned, because many times there was like, yeah, I'm running into bottlenecks, I'm running in this, I can't get this next level. And unfortunately, a lot of the times it's us. We're doing it to ourselves, not necessarily intentionally, but that's why it's so important to, work with peers and find mentors and get in some groups like this because they may have an insight. They may say something that's direct, it'll help you do what you want to do, or they may say a comment that doesn't seem like it's a big, issue or a big deal, but all of a sudden it, screws in the light bulb a little bit more. And I'll say, so maybe I should reach out to that group. And next thing you know, they're coming back in a couple of weeks saying, guess what I just did? I just bought my third house. Or, I just decided, you know what, I'm launching a new business in addition to what I'm already doing because I know I'm going to be able to make an impact. That would not have happened if they weren't there. So it just wouldn't. I stand firmly on that. So get involved in groups like this because it's a game changer for everybody. And what that does for you, Dr. B, quite frankly, is it gives you additional, obviously testimonials, of course, but also stories and insights that helps you in the work that you're doing, whether it's helping out the nonprofits, which is a very beautiful thing that you do. Nonprofits, desperately need talent to come in and help because a lot of times they're not able to attract all the the talent that they need to really make the impact that we want them and need them to do. So by you being there to help them and guide them, boy oh boy, that community is thriving because of that. So I commend you for doing that. But again, it's so important. So I want to segue over to your book. And this is something I ask authors all the time. Why in the world would you give up so much of your life to write a book? Because it is a time-consuming endeavor for sure. You think, I'll just write a book and all that. Then there's editing, then there's the artwork, and then there's this. And if you had an editor like I have with my books, it's like, I guess I can't put that in there because it was a little too dark when it came to humor. It's like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna go. So she's my sounding board and my guidepost on things. But no, tell us about the book and what drove you to write it and what's it about.
Yeah. So, what motivated me to write DealMaker was a couple of years back. I had written a book, my first book, Networking with a Success, back in the summer of 19. And then I had a whole launch plan between 19 and 2020. Of course, COVID happened and I had to pivot everything to virtual. Just the impact wasn't there as right. So I decided 5 years later to write DealMaker to kind of tell my story about how I got to the my first acquisition. I am a part owner of a 52 unit in Southern Pines, North Carolina. So I talk about my networking, my story a little bit. I talk about different strategies. I talk about mentorship, how I was able to find a mentor or mentors for that matter. How I was able to eliminate limiting beliefs. What was holding me back because I talk about my struggles. I was gonna buy something in Allentown, that didn't work out. A 3 unit. Then I was gonna buy a 30+ unit in Memphis. That didn't work out. Then I was gonna buy a one in a 6 unit in Madeira Beach. That didn't work out. And then finally, I was able to with a team, be able to land something, right? And I talk about how real estate is like a team sport, or any business. It's a team sport. It's not just you. In order for you to scale, you need other people to help you, right? Not just AI. And then the second half of the book discusses a lot of different tips when it comes to accessing capital, whether it's term loan, business line of credit, some credit cards. To an extent, you have to be careful, right? And then also, in addition to that, I talk about like self-directed IRA, solo 401k, CDFIs, SBAs, other grants as well, in order for you to access capital to help scale your business. So the book is kind of like a entry point, and I'll be honest, I wrote it to do one of two things: for folks to either hire me, right, as or to be enrolled in Elevation, hopefully, or the second point, or 1B, is to invest passively in one of our deals in Ohio or the Carolinas, right? So yeah, it's been a great opener. I've gotten a lot of speaking opportunities as a result, and I actually have a speaking opportunity tomorrow. I'll be promoting it at a business expo next week on the 17th. I'm going to be speaking in Miami at the end of this month, and just added to the calendar, I think I'll be in the ATL Atlanta area in September. So we're finalizing those details as well. So yeah, so August is a tough month for me to travel, but I'll do what I can virtual from that, and then squeeze into July for that.
That's good. And, August historically, although the pandemic kind of
Yeah,
changed a lot, August used to be kind of the abyss when it came to speaking things because everybody was, on summer holiday, they're going on vacation, things like that. But then when the pandemic hit, when I was speaking a lot, that month was in August 2020 was probably my busiest month speaking ever as far as the number of engagements. And for fun and games, I decided, all right, because I had like 7 events in about 10 days. And I'm like, okay, let's play a game. Let's say if this was actually in person instead of remote, because in 2020, it was definitely remote. So I thought, okay, would it be humanly possible for me to speak at all of these events at their original locations? So I went online and, thankfully, of course, the airlines, their schedule was a little bit different then. You could still fly, but it was a little different. So it wasn't a true test, but I was able to figure out how I would do it. And I looked at that and I'm thinking, boy, am I glad this was remote because that would have been absolute torture. There would have been 2 cross-country flights and then literally, I'm on stage and luggage is next to me basically going, okay, Q&A, you've got 6 minutes, go. And then, ding, bye, run out to the airport kind of thing. But it's the books are great for that because one, even though there's a ton of books out there, the percentage of the population that has ever written a book is so minuscule that it is a differentiator. When you say, okay, I'd like to, speak at your event, here's my books. All of a sudden they're like, okay, this person's accomplished. They've taken the time and effort and done the research and all of that. So again, much like a mentorship and being part of a group, if you have a story, and most people do, or something that you can put into written format, I highly encourage you do it because it gives you a little bit of an advantage. A great one, it depends on where you're going, but it is definitely a differentiator. And I love the fact too that this book, tells you about the networking, but also on the like your first one did, but also in, the capital side of things, because a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses, yeah, they do the bootstrapping funding or, they hit up, the greater bank of uncles and friends and all of that kind of stuff where, there are legitimate ways to raise capital and get access to capital for your business. You got to be clear on what you're doing, though. And I think that, again, not to kind of connect the dots, but they work out well together. That's why another reason why being part of a group is good, because sometimes that group can help you get your message really clear when you're presenting for people to lend you resources for you to grow your business. You can say, I have a great idea. It's the greatest thing ever. It's going to change everything. It's the best thing in the history of best things. Okay. Yeah. As an investor, I would go, I don't know what my ROI on that would be, because I don't know if it is the best thing. Where's the evidence? Where's the stats? Where's your analysis? What's your lead rates? How's your conversions going? What are you doing? And I think, again, being part of a group can help you do that. And so if you are part of a group and you're looking and like you want to grow your business and you want to have access to capital, that is definitely one way to do that. Obviously, pick up the book, nice plug there for you, but definitely pick up the book and quite frankly, tell your mentorship group, it's like everybody get a copy of this book. So that way you're all singing out of the same hymn book when you're talking about some things, because again, it's going to help them too. But again, I want small businesses to grow. I love that because that's what has grown our country and continues to do so. Yes, there's the big players, but as I've shared on my show countless times, over half of the Fortune 500 from the year 2000 are gone. Okay. So that's 52% are gone from a quarter century ago, not that long ago. These are the big, 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 big companies. Half of them are gone. So that's why small business is so important, because it helps keep the economy flowing and moving. And eventually, there's always those opportunities where one of those small businesses can turn into a Fortune 500 company, and hopefully they last longer than, some of those businesses did. But again, it's important for people to, really want be part of a group and also pick up this book. So, anything else you want to share about the book or the groups?
No, yeah, we're starting a new cohort towards the end of excuse me, sorry about that. Towards the end of this month, early August. So if interested, love to hear from you. You could just reach out, Dr. Jairo Borja via LinkedIn, or just go to our websites, borjaconsultinggroup.com or Borja Capital. And for the book, if you're in Florida, we'd love to see you at the end of July. If you're in Atlanta, we'd love to see you in September. Or if you're in New Jersey next week, we'd love to see you at the Feria de Negocios, also known as the Business Expo, which should take place in Pines Manor, and it's in New Jersey. So I'll be there, and you'll have an autographed copy. How about that? So
There you go.
yeah. So,
The limited edition, getting those, but it, but September in Atlanta won't be too crazy hot. August in Atlanta,
yeah, I know.
I had family that lived just outside of Atlanta, and I've been to Atlanta a ton of times, and I remember visiting them from time to time. And the best way I could describe walking around Atlanta in the summertime is, when you go to the dentist and they put that X-ray blanket on you before they take the X-rays, that really heavy blanket kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just imagine walking around town all day wearing that thing. That's what Atlanta feels like in the summer. It's My goodness, it's warm. But that's all right. That's why they call it Hot Atlanta, because that, and then of course, if you've been there recently, the growth, there, the Carolinas,
Yeah.
Jersey, there's a lot of growth going on. Don't let the negative media tell you otherwise. There's a lot of things going really, really well in a lot of parts of our country. So chime into that, be a part of that, be a part of the group, figure out a way to do that. So, Dr. B, I love our conversations. I'll make sure to share all the links in the show notes and all of that. So again, thank you for your time today. Always appreciate our conversations.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. Let's go.
Thanks for listening to the Breakfast Leadership Show, part of the Breakfast Leadership Network. Visit breakfastleadership.com for tips on empowering your business and your life.